Hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Okay. Hello, 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 and good afternoon or good morning, wherever you are from, or landing in or checking in today. I am Chandra Sora, breaking news of the incomparable Gamma Pi Rho Lupus Sorority Incorporated. And today we have a guest speaker that is near and dear to my heart because she is a true and genuine uh, advocate for lupus and lupus nephritis. So we are so pleased to have Miss Quinn Cousin on our platform. Today we have Quinn. She is a strong executive leader with a depth of experience leading sales organizations and cross-functional teams, outstanding experience of conceptualizing and implementing solid strategic and non-product plans for world-class brands. You guys, I could go on and on telling you about her bio and what all she does, about how she's a strong leader of people, and she's an excellent communicator, and how she's the best strategic planner and thought leader, and how she excels at partnering with core business operations. And she's a team builder with strong general management skills. But let me tell you about the young lady that I know and have been blessed and honored to know throughout this lupus journey and doing lupus webinars and collaborating with Aurinia. As I said, I can go on and speak fluently on all the qualifications that launches her into the stratosphere of her capability to be Aurinia's advocacy and strategic alliance manager. But as I said, I have been fortunate enough to experience her care, concern, and compassion for what she does. Her straightforward approach and heartfelt concern is what I admire the most. Take care of you. And without further ado, I'm proud to introduce, and you guys please mute your cameras and mute your microphones, please. Without further ado, I would like to introduce the one and only Quinn Cousins. Yay!
Thank you so much, Chandra. Yes, I could take you on the road, girl. Introduction. Thank you so much. So yes, you guys, Chandra has, kind of given you a background as to what my role is with Aurinia, but I want to tell you a little bit about why I'm here personally. And let me silence my phone. Just got my nails done, so it didn't work very quickly. But anyway, so the reason why I'm here is because I was working for AstraZeneca and their corporate headquarters in Gaithersburg, Maryland, and I got a call from a friend who was like, "Hey, you should come on with, on board with Aurinia. We have a great new product for lupus, and I really think you should be a part of the team. I think you'll, contribute well." And I was like, I'm really happy at AstraZeneca. I've been here for a little bit, but thanks for no thanks. And then he called me again and he was like, "Yeah, really," but the again was probably a year later. And he was like, "Hey, I really do think, and he talked about a different role. And I really do think you should come on board with Aurinia." And I was like, let me take a look at what it is that you're talking about. Because by this time, my daughter was a freshman in college. And her freshman roommate, we knew she had an autoimmune disease, but she never said what it was. And then we found out, probably, I don't know, within that year that she had lupus. And it was right about that same time that that Aurinia was reaching out to me to say, "Hey, would you come on board?" And so I started to do my homework, and I realized that this disproportionately affects women of color and men of color. And that not only does it disproportionately affect us, but it affects us in the most harmful ways, in the most severe ways. And that there was an issue with getting the best care possible. Like there are some social economic barriers to care, but there are also disparities in care. And it really started to bother me knowing that, I have a daughter who now has a best friend who has lupus. And then we found out that her mom has stage 4 cancer. And I knew that her mom probably wasn't going to make it for another beyond 2 years because that's the type of cancer that she had. And then I found out that her daughter and my daughter's best friend had lupus nephritis. And then I was all in, and I signed up to become a part of the team with Aurinia to try to see how I could help solve for some of the, the biggest issues. And while I'm not a doctor, I do have a big mouth, and they gave me the microphone. So now I get to help my own and get to be engaged in trying to help solve for some of the health disparities that are associated with this disease state. And to be quite frank with you guys, a lot of it is, while you can't really prevent lupus per se, you can, prevent some of the end organ damage and some of the life expectancy and the mortality and all those things that are wrapped around the disease state. And I'm trying to make sure that people are aware of what kidney disease is, what it looks like, and how you take care of yourself and how you advocate for yourself. So I have a few slides that I'm going to share. Please feel free to ask me questions and jump in so that we can have this conversation. Okay,
All righty.
Control. Okay, can everybody see this screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I don't know if you got, I'm gonna turn my camera off because I'm looking kind of crazy right now.
There you go. You fine.
Okay. Okay. All right. So I want to, like I said, there are some uncomfortable facts that you guys need to know about kidney disease. And really, I'm going to give you these uncomfortable facts, but I'm also going to give you the good news in the end, because I think it's extraordinarily important for us to really focus on the good and how this is, really a modifiable risk factor, because a lot of it lies in your hands. And I'll explain what I mean by that. So you guys all know what lupus is. You have the disease. It's an autoimmune disease that attacks the healthy cells of the body, and inflammation is caused in many different parts of the body, including the joints, the skin, the brain, the heart, the lungs, and so forth. And then lupus nephritis is where the lupus affects the kidneys. And about 50% of the people living with lupus may go on to develop lupus nephritis. And so when lupus nephritis occurs, that's an inflammation of the kidneys. The kidneys cannot properly function to remove the waste of the blood and control the amount of fluids in the body. So lupus nephritis can create serious health problems. It can cause permanent kidney disease, kidney failure, and even require dialysis or a transplant. There are approximately 100,000 people in this country that are diagnosed and living with lupus nephritis in the United States, and about 1 in 3 are diagnosed with lupus nephritis at the time of their lupus diagnosis. So I want you to think about that for a minute. So we're talking about 100 people, 30 of them are going to have lupus nephritis at diagnosis. That's an alarming statistic. And lupus nephritis is more common in women than in men, but when men get the disease, it tends to be more severe. In the U.S., the racial groups that are mostly affected outside of when compared to white people, the incidence is 4 times higher in people of African and Asian descent and 2 times higher in Hispanic and Native American people. And so some more uncomfortable facts are that 1 in 3 people living with lupus nephritis will experience kidney failure. So a third will have it at diagnosis, and in that third may go on to experience kidney failure. The guidelines say that every 3 months that you should engage with your doctor to do a simple urine test to check for proteinuria. The risk of death is 3 times higher in people living with lupus nephritis than people who don't have any kidney involvement with their lupus. So some of the complications that are related to lupus nephritis are increased blood pressure, chronic kidney disease, cardiovascular complications, kidney failure, also known as end-stage kidney disease. But here's the positive side. So I've given you all of the oh my gosh facts. But the issue is that if we catch it early, and through this routine testing, that we can prevent further irreversible damage to the kidneys and other serious complications. Some of the things that you should look out for are unusual swelling in the ankles or feet, increased blood pressure that's unusual. For example, if you get your blood pressure checked and it's normally 120 over 80, which is, perfect, and then a month later or 2 months later, it's 140 over 80, that's a concern. If it's consistently high and you're starting to see this swelling and you're starting to see this frothy, sudsy urine, And to be frank with you guys, I did not know exactly what frothy, sudsy urine looked like until we had a speaker last year, Dr. James Tumlin, show us some actual urine. And it really looks like if you beat an egg, that all the foam is on top, about an inch thick, and then the urine is below that. So if you see that, that's an indication that something may be going on with your kidneys.
A huge alarm, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And so your doctor may also check for signs of disease like leakage of protein in the kidneys, which I already mentioned is proteinuria. They may check for blood in the urine, which is hematuria. They may check for other abnormal electrolyte levels, a decrease in GFR, an increase in creatinine levels, and inflammation or scarring in the kidneys, which is typically confirmed by a kidney biopsy. So we want to make sure that you're not experiencing irreversible kidney damage. So the way that the easiest thing they can do, when I tell you the easiest thing they can do is a urine test. And that's a urinalysis. And they're going to be looking for protein in the urine. And then they would also do a blood test at these visits. And they're looking for creatinine. And that's a normal waste product from the breakdown of muscle. And it really establishes how well the kidneys are filtering your blood. And then the kidney biopsy, which we already spoke about, is typically performed by either an interventional radiologist or a nephrologist and a rheumatologist, and the nephrologist will read the results. And so what you're looking for, and this is the part that I really want everybody to get, because I think one of the things that's important for us to do is to own our lab results. Our lab results come out, and sometimes, there are levels that are in the yellow or some that are in the red, and they aren't always explained to us in such a way that we can understand. And what do they mean? And it's extraordinarily important for you to know that anything above 0.5 grams of protein in your urine per day is too high. That means that your kidneys are already experiencing some type of damage. And that's an indication that your doctor needs to seek better care to bring the protein levels in your urine down. Period, point blank, no, no room around it. The European guidelines called EULAR have also stated this, as well as the KDIGO guidelines as well. So every 3 months, that is what needs to happen, is you need to be having these urine tests, because this is the controllable. This is the piece that you can control by making sure your doctor's doing this test and making sure you know what the results are. So choosing to prioritize your kidney health might be uncomfortable. And we totally get that. You're trying to hold down a full-time job. You're trying to be potentially a full-time mom or a full-time wife, or, what have you. And all of these things can complicate, trying to get to appointments. And unfortunately, during the pandemic, a lot of people missed appointments. But unfortunately, the levels of lupus nephritis went through the roof during the pandemic. And so we want to make sure that we stop this disease progression before it's too late. So again, the goal is to encourage people living with lupus to advocate for themselves, to make sure that you are having a dialogue with your doctors. And if you don't have a dialogue with your doctor and you need another doctor, and then we have a solution for that as well, to make sure that you're not experiencing lupus nephritis. So we have a Find a Doctor tool. And, again, we know that peeing in a cup sucks. And this is the campaign. This is the national campaign that we rolled out to really kind of in your face say, listen, we know that this part of the exam process really sucks. But this is imperative that we do this in order to make sure that we are not the ones that, end up in dialysis chairs due to lack of care. If you end up in a dialysis chair and you've done everything you can, so be it. But if you don't have to be in a dialysis chair, if you don't have to go through dialysis and we can save your native kidneys, this is one way to do it. And so Tony Braxton, as you guys probably know, is, someone who's living with lupus. And you can, take your phones out if you don't mind. I can't see you doing it, so please do it. And go to our Get Uncomfortable site, and you can see her entire story. So you just scan this QR code like you would at a restaurant, and it'll pull up our Get Uncomfortable site, which also has some additional resources there that I'll talk about in a minute. But the bottom line is that she makes sure, and I know she's famous and she has all the resources and so forth, but she didn't have to come out to say that I have lupus. So she's putting her name and her reputation behind her disease to try to support those that look like her. So we know that the signs and symptoms of lupus nephritis can be, subtle. They may not be things that you're really looking for because they can mimic other diseases, but the simple test of peeing in this cup can be the indication that there's something wrong. And if we stay on top of it with regular doctor's appointments or regular urinalysis, then we know that this is a game changer, and this is how we can help solve for kidney disease in our patient population. So that's it. Again, get your phones out if you didn't for the first time. Here's your second opportunity, because on this site, if you scan this QR code, there are other resources available to you. Like, for example, there are newsletters, there are resources to help get you connected to whatever Lupus Foundation of America that you're closest to in your area, to resources. For example, we gave grants to try to help solve for some of the social economic barriers that people face, like getting to the doctor. So Uber health vouchers, food deserts that some people are affected by, language barriers, lack of the internet, all kinds of things that impact people that are living with lupus that we're trying to help solve for, beyond making sure that you're taking care of your kidneys. Because we know that as a whole person, that there's a whole lot going on that may stop you from getting to these appointments. But we want to make sure that we remove some of those barriers to help you get the care you need. So I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to stop sharing and see if you guys have any questions and get your thoughts, and see how I might be able to help.
I have a quick question, if I can ask before my lunch break is over. Is that okay?
Sure, please.
You mentioned two things, taking ownership of your labs. And so what I'm seeing a lot of as a provider is the first time someone hears that they're, a lot of younger people with lupus I run across, they don't believe when they get the results of the lab work and the kidney function. It's a straight denial. And it's months later then that it's advanced, not to the point of dialysis, but I think that is one barrier, that just owning that and accepting that. And sometimes it takes a little while for people to accept that. I mean, I have lupus, but thank God I don't have kidney involvement. The second thing you mentioned, that if you can expound on a little bit, you mentioned obviously there are a lot of health disparities with lupus, but I heard you mention like the food deserts, like access to care and things like that. What type of programs did you say you guys do with that health disparity part? Okay,
sure.
Thank you.
So yes, so thank you for your questions. They're fantastic questions. So the first question around, people, we call that sticking your head in the sand. It's like, not me, not me. And we fully understand that, because at the end of the day, you could be getting this diagnosis at 15 years old, and you have no idea what it means. You don't even understand health or health care. So to try to wrap your brain around, kidney disease is just a whole nother huge ask. So what we do is, and what we've started to do, and what I do as well, and all of my colleagues that are around the country do, that are in this similar role, is that we have connected our providers by doing physician education events like this with the Lupus Foundation of America, who actually has, as a part of their welcome package, community health workers who meet with people to try to help get them mental health resources, as well as get them connected to support groups like this one, so that the diagnosis doesn't feel so lonely. And let's say, for example, you're 15 years old, and their goal is to connect you with somebody who's 15, who's already, accepted the diagnosis, is living well, and is on their meds, and is compliant, and has a positive story. But also to connect you with someone who's also kind of where you are in your journey, to try to help you and partner you guys together as you proceed. So kind of like a mentoring, if you will. That's something that they do. They also make sure that, for example, if there's, you mentioned the grant piece. So we recently in November, the latter part of November, rolled out a $25,000 grant called the Community Impact Grant, which was born out of us doing a $50,000 grant to help 7 pilot institutions hire a patient navigator to try to see, post-pandemic, how can we help? How can we help people living with lupus live fantastic lives? And those 5 barriers are really what was uncovered, is that really most people needed help with copays. They needed help with rides to the doctor's office. They needed help with language barriers, internet, and food deserts. And so what we do is now is that we've given out those grants, and they went to all these different organizations that had a 501c3 that filled out this RFP to answer how they could help support those groups, and or how they could help people living with lupus and distribute those funds. And so, like, for example, Uber has an account called Uber Health. And with that account, doctors can send rides to a person that doesn't have transportation or doesn't feel like driving or can't drive or what have you, to the doctor's office and back. So that's what that is. And so that grant will reopen again in November for people to apply with a 501c3. Did I answer your question?
You did answer my question. You touched on another point that I was thinking about, and that's health literacy.
Yes.
And with the racial disparity, I see not necessarily that it's a language barrier, but just an overall health literacy issue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
But thank you. You did answer.
So in order to address that health literacy issue, we do programs like this, and we do so this, obviously is a support group program, but we also have doctors on panels that come on. We had one on just the other night, a legislative town hall, where we had a doctor and a legislator. And typically on these calls, we have a person living with lupus as well on these panels, and the doctor kind of goes over the disease state, to address the health literacy piece. We have the legislator on there to really address kind of what they're doing in the legislature to try to help solve for some of the access barriers that occur with people who are living with lupus, because a lot of times if the copay is high, or you have to step through 2 or 3 drugs before you get to the drug that actually works, and the newer drugs, your disease has already progressed. And so what we're trying to do is stop that 6-month, 1 year long process of you getting to the branded drug that you need, make it affordable for you to be able to pay for it, connect you to the resources to help you get it paid for, so that you're not languishing with lupus nephritis a year, 2 years, with proteinuria going through the roof, without the most current available treatments that are available to you. Are there any other questions? I know the sun is setting on my face, and y'all wouldn't even believe I have a ring light, but sorry. You're
Are there
muted.
any other questions? Thank you, LaShawn, for that. Yeah, she's at work, so she probably had to step away. But thank you for those questions. She's one of our
I'm here. I'm here.
Oh.
I'm chewing food real fast, so I cut my camera off.
Oh,
I see you recording, and I don't want you recording me over here jamming like this.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for your questions. As always, good,
And then
insightful
I want to add one more thing. For those who are diagnosed with lupus nephritis, we have a site called All In for Lupus Nephritis, and it's for those who are newly diagnosed, and it's for those who have been diagnosed for a while. And it has nutrition resources out there. It has health literacy information out there. It has a guide on there to help you ask the best, most relevant, salient questions to your physician when you get in there, so you can have the most impactful 10 or 15 minutes. So you can ask those questions and get those answers and document what it is that they're saying to you, so that there's a level of reciprocity in that conversation, as opposed to it being a monologue, as a dialogue. So I can put that in the chat if you guys want that site.
Absolutely. Yes. And you can get more information as well. Like she said, you can scan the Get Uncomfortable code, and also go to the website. They have a lot of information that's valuable. And Gamma Pi Rho is blessed to have a relationship with Aurinia. So we can always get them to give us more access to the doctors if we want someone to come on and speak about all the things that she spoke about. So that's one great thing about that. Sorry about that, guys. But yes, does anyone else have any questions? I wanted to thank you. I wanted to ask, I know you were saying that the foam, and a lot of times that when you see the foam, sometimes people don't get alarmed. Can you tell them how important that is?
Yes. The foam is an indication that there is protein in your urine. And you should, and it's one of those symptoms that you may not think is important, because, you don't always turn around and look at your urine, right?
Right,
But
right.
if you see foam in your urine and you see that it's frothy, that's an indication that there's something wrong. So you may not have the swelling, you may not have the increased blood pressure, but you may see that foam in your urine. And that is an indication that your kidneys are having a tough time and that you need to get it checked.
Because that kidney disease is a silent killer, having that high blood pressure thing,
So yeah, and I want to share something personal with you guys. So my former brother-in-law, who I was married for a long time, and he was just diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And I'm gonna tell you guys, pancreatic cancer is very silent, and there's almost no indication that you're sick until it's too late. That's not the case with lupus nephritis. That foam is your red light.
Mm-hmm.
That swelling in those ankles, like, and what I mean by that, because all of our feet swell. We're in the South. We eat salt, right? That's not what I'm talking. I'm not talking about regular swelling. I'm talking about endematous swelling. So if you press on your ankle and you make a little, notch in your ankle, and that notch is still there in the morning, that's unusual swelling.
That edema, letting you know something ain't right. You retaining that fluid for
Exactly.
sure. Mm-hmm. And you also want to make note of how what got me with Quinn was I knew I had kidney nephritis, chronic kidney disease. And not that I wasn't being proactive, but I've been at stage 3 for like 7 years. So it's not that I didn't take it seriously, but she took me and she said, look, because I would say, oh, well, the doctor was like, you're right here. And, we really don't have to worry, so, until you get right here. And she's like, well, why are we waiting till we get right here? Don't you want to save those kidneys? So one thing that I want to express is continue to be proactive about your lupus diagnosis, kidney diagnosis, because you don't want to wait until you have to have dialysis. You want to be proactive. And there's so many ways that you can do that. Like she said, being in a cup, going every 3 months. When you get the blood work, I know when we get our results on my chart, we'll, sometimes if we're not familiar with it, we'll go and Google it. And, then we'll be in a panic, and then we'll I'll say myself, call the doctor, because I know a little bit about something, and they're like, oh, no, it's not that bad, so they kind of calm you down when you think that, oh, this level is right here. But you guys, you have to be proactive about your disease, especially with those kidneys, because you want to save your kidneys. You do not want to do dialysis, but of course, if we have to, we are strong warriors and we can do it. But any ways that we can prevent that from happening, we want to take advantage of it. Are there any other questions? Oh,
I just want to say, it kind of hit home when she was talking about that, because that's how my fiance ended up passing away, and he kept ignoring the signs. Like, he was like, oh, I just got gout, because his ankles were swelling up, his feet were swelling, and he was like, oh, it's my gout. Oh, it's the shoe. Oh, it's this. And then, like you say, with the foam in the urine, oh my God, his foam in his urine was so bad. It's so bad. But he was like making excuses for everything. Like, oh, it's the pop. Oh, I didn't drink water. Just saying everything out the blue. I'm like, nah, something not right. And they had told him that it was he needed to start a dialysis. But he kept ignoring it. And then when he got COVID, that's when his kidneys shut down. And, because he never took care of them, he kept ignoring the signs. But yeah, I know what you mean about the swelling of the ankles and the foam and all of that. So yeah, those are definitely signs.
I'm so sorry that you lost your fiance. But
Thank you.
what I'm thankful about is that you're still here, and that you are willing to share his story, because I think that when we share is when people learn. You know, I
Right.
don't have lupus and I don't have lupus nephritis, and that's why I share why I'm connected to this.
Mm.
And so I think it's extraordinarily important that each one teach one, because
Mm.
it is incumbent upon us as a people to save us. We cannot wait on people to decide that it's now's the time to save your kidney. Now's the time to be proactive. Now's the time to get involved. Now's the time to advocate for yourself. We can't let other people tell us when that time is. The time is when you see these signs and symptoms and you want to keep your kidneys, period. Because I'm
Right.
gonna tell y'all something, and I've said this in a room full of doctors. You're not gonna stick your arm out when you tell these people to wait for whatever time frame you're talking about, because you want to wait and see
Mhm.
for dialysis. You're not going to do it.
Mhm.
There's no doctor breathing that's going to do dialysis for you. No, I don't care how nice they are. They're not going to do it. So the way you can keep yourself from being on dialysis is to get your kidneys checked
Mhm.
and pee in the
Every
cup.
3 months. Yeah, stay on top of it. Pee in the cup, you know, make sure you stay on top of it because we definitely want to save those kidneys. I want to thank you, Quinn, for coming on today. This is your second time being with us, and it all, you know, is always some good information, and we appreciate it. Is there any other information that you want to share before we log off today?
No, if you guys have questions, I mean, the only other thing that I'll say is that if you want me to connect you to other resources and so forth, or I do know that Autumn reached out to our director, because I had mentioned to you that
Mhm.
all the chapter people should reach out to us so that we can do programming in your specific area. We can
Yes.
also get you connected to the Lupus Foundation of America. If you're not, if you know someone that's experiencing, some of the barriers to care, and you're like, they can't get to the doctor, they can't pay their copay, or I can't pay my copay, or then we can get you connected to those resources as well. And I'm happy to give out my phone number. It's 404 931 2688. So if you want to text me, or call me and say, hey, Quinn, how do we get that? How do we get involved with that community impact grant for, that's coming up later on this year? I can give that information to you and we can start a conversation about that. So anything you guys want to talk about or anything you want to ask me, let me know.
We are definitely getting that information out. We have SOARs, like you said, we are national. And one of the young ladies who spoke is our founder, LaShawn, and she's in Chicago. So there's a huge uh, uh, networking out there in St. Louis and Missouri and Kansas City and, you know, out there in that area. I believe Indiana as well. So we have a large group of SOARs that way. We have SOAR Aftermath on the phone, and she's in the Florida area, and she works heavily with LFA. So we'd love to get her connected as well. And Kendra, she's out that way in California. So she could be
Okay.
working with Danny, right? Danny's in
Yep.
that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so Nicole and Tynesha, they're out that way too. So, you know, we are national, and I love to say that because we're 18 states, I believe. I want to say almost 20, but yeah, and we're all out there working. We have so many of them that's connected with LFA. And I'm glad that you mentioned how that you guys do have the resources, because a lot of people don't know that. They don't
Right.
know that they can go to the Get Uncomfortable website and get information regarding
How to find a doctor.
yeah,
Because that's
how
the
to
number
find.
one tool, is that you can find with that QR code. If you need to switch doctors, you can
Mhm.
look up a nephrologist or a rheumatologist, because that's sometimes the hardest thing. And you put in your insurance, and it tells you which doctor will see you in your area based on your insurance. So sometimes that's tough as well. I
Mm-hmm.
do want to mention one more thing, Chandra, that I forgot to mention, is that I keep talking about peeing in a cup, peeing in a cup. And sometimes, I mean, maybe you can't get to the doctor to pee in a cup. And so we are partnering with an organization that's also national, that I just found, because one of my big things is that I want to be able to have at all these walks and these events is, how do we create a paradigm shift with this disease? And if peeing in a cup and testing for proteinuria is the number one way for us to do this, how can we do this on a national scale? So we recently connected with a national group, that does live testing for free. And they're going to be doing live testing at our events for free.
Oh,
Across.
wow. That
Yes.
is exciting. And that is so important, because you
Yep.
have a lot of people who might be at those events, even just supporting someone else.
Yep.
And and they could find out, some health issues that they're going on. So that's amazing. Yeah,
So
that's
we're doing blood pressure. It's going to be a blood pressure, glucose stick, as well as, obviously peeing in a cup to test for blood in the urine and protein in the urine. So there'll be 4 tests, and they'll all be free, and they will be interpreted by a doctor, a
Okay.
nephrologist or a rheumatologist that's there. And then also they can sign that person up for an appointment right then and there. And then also they can make sure that they have the resources that they need to get to those appointments. So those appointments need to be virtual, or they need an Uber Health voucher, or whatever they need to try to, and let's say, for example, like we're also going to be doing this at HBCUs this year
Okay.
to try to catch people early, because that's a lot of times when people start having symptoms is when they're in college, is to not only provide them with the resources and do those free symptom checkers, but also to make sure that a lot of people are not afforded the luxury of being on their parents' insurance when they go to college. So to make
Right.
sure you know the resources to sign up for Medicaid, and that you have to re-enroll in Medicaid every single year, that you're not auto-enrolled. Because a lot of people don't know that.
They
So
don't.
so we're gonna work. So we also work with the SCLC and NAACP to make sure that those resources are available and people know how to sign up and how to get health care, so that it's affordable for them to go to the doctor. So, and that their health system, not health system, but their health coordinators or nurses or whomever, like the aid office is also aware. So they will be educated. And so if somebody is diagnosed, then they know they can go to that nurse and say, hey, I'm having symptoms, I need your assistance. And that nurse now will be equipped with having those doctor's phone numbers, that information, that Uber Health voucher to get that person to care. Especially in these rural, a lot of times HBCUs are in these rural areas where you don't have a whole lot of transportation or resources. Sometimes they're in urban areas, but sometimes they're not. So I just wanted to share more about what we're doing as an organization to try
Thank
to
you.
help peeing in a cup.
Yeah, thank you. You guys are going above and beyond. Did you all hear that? So you can look out for that. Do you know when the next event will be? If someone can take a part of that, or are you guys still getting that together?
So I literally just got this information Friday.
Okay.
I just found the organization, just shared it with Nicole, my boss, and
Okay.
she just connected it to our national director. So,
Wow.
but the first program is actually going to be, our fingers crossed, is going to be at Fort Valley State, which is, a HBCU in the sticks. And so, we're going to start there and just roll it out throughout the country, because this is an organization that's already doing it, and they're just linking up with our events to be there.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. A quick question about that. So say if they're at the walk, say Atlanta's doing their walk April 28th, I believe.
Yep.
Will someone be out there? Is that something that you guys will team up with, or?
Yep. So our
Okay.
goal is to have them out there, to have them at the walks that we support, because a lot of the National Kidney Foundations now are not okay, so y'all, these advocacy groups, some of them fall under a national umbrella, and some of them are chapters, right? So the National Kidney Foundations are no longer doing live screenings. So this organization took over and said, okay, we're going to do the live screenings, and they're doing them for free. So everywhere that there's a chapter, a National Kidney Foundation chapter, they may not be doing live screenings, but we're going to try to fill in that gap with this organization, in partnership with that organization.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing all that come into play.
Yeah.
I really am. That's going to be so welcoming for every reason that you just mentioned. Yeah. And you guys, they do offer assistance. So do know that, a lot of people are on disability, and, just funds are limited. So there is help out there. There is assistance out there. So take advantage of it. Everybody else does. We should too. So, but thank you so much, Quinn, for that, especially the last information, because that shines a light on a lot of things that we can do upcoming in 2024. So thank you. It's very valuable information. We won't keep you all. We want to thank you for joining us. The majority of the people on here are sorors of Gamma Pi Rho. But for those of you who don't know, we are a nonprofit organization for women, and we are national. So you can find us on gprsororityinc.org and find out more information about our organization, or follow us on social media. We are on all platforms. You can also follow us on our interest group page to find out more about events and stuff that's coming up. But we're not just here to welcome you into the sorority because you have lupus. We're here to help you navigate your way through life with this disease. We also offer auxiliaries for family and friends who want to support you during your journey, and that's in our SEALS auxiliary. And we also have a portion of that where young women under the age of 18, because you have to be 18 to join the sorority, but we have the opportunity to mentor the young women who are navigating their life through this horrible disease, because it can be very traumatizing at a young age to find out that you have a disease that, as of now, 2024, there is no cure for. But as you can see, we are living, we are thriving, and we are making the best with the cards that we were dealt. Bad days and good. So search for us on social media platforms, get to know us, and you won't be disappointed. Thank you guys for joining us today and on this Saturday, and we look forward to seeing you again for our next speaker. You will see Quinn again because she is affiliated with Gamma Pi Rho, because they are a sponsor of ours this year, and we're going to be collaborating with them not only in Atlanta, but as she mentioned earlier, they have other representatives in different states. So stay tuned for all that is to come. And to everyone, thanks again for logging on, and we are signing off. Thank you, Quinn. Thank you,
You're
Miss.
welcome. Take care.
Thank you, Ned. Thank you, Janice, Nicole, Sora Aftermath, Tynesha, Tidewater, Elise, and all the sorors who logged on this Saturday. You guys are amazing, and keep supporting the advocacy team at Gamma Pi Rho, Lupus Sorority Incorporated. Bye for now.